Hi there, Edwina Murphy-Droomer is my name, and this video is all about what it means to be empowered. To be empowered is a word that we hear thrown around heaps on social media, and it's probably popping into your inbox in people's emails. Any kind of personal development, leadership training that we do, the word empowered is used all the time. But what I want to do now is actually dive into what does that mean? What does that actually look like to be empowered? And how do we not only take this on for ourselves, but role model it and then pass it on to our beautiful kids? And so there's two core concepts here, two things that tie in really neatly together that I think are going to be useful to you in embracing this way of being and making it a daily practice to look at where it's showing up in your life and perhaps where it's not. So the first is responsibility, 100% responsibility for our own lives. So this is the difference between living in victim mode or being responsible for our lives. So all of us accumulate layers and layers of messaging and stories throughout our journey on this fabulous planet of, my parents divorced when I was 6, and so XYZ. I struggle with, commitment and relationships, or I had a car accident, and so I struggled to want to get in a car and drive again because of that accident. Or I've been through my own divorce, or my husband doesn't support me in my desires to change careers and actually start an entrepreneurial career. Or I was always crappy at sport at school, so therefore I'm never going to be good at sport anywhere else. Or because I got this message, this is why I behave like this, because of such and such experience, that is why I can't go on with something else, XYZ. What's happened to my camera's gone weird. Anyway, it's back. So you get the message. Whatever the story, whatever the experience, whatever somebody said to you, we can take that on as messaging or reasons why we don't change whatever it is that we want to change in our lives. I can't give up chocolate because I've got a sweet tooth, or I can't not have a drink because I'm so stressed I need a way to unwind at night, or because my kids, this is a big one, because my kids behave so badly or are doing things that are making me stressed, they are responsible for my stress and my inability to do other things in my life. I don't know why my camera keeps mucking up, but I'll just stay with it. So what it looks like to be 100% responsible for your own life is to stop being a victim and to stop looking at all the external reasons why you can't make the changes in your life that you're wanting to make. So whether that is changing careers, whether it's exercising more or losing weight, whether it's having better relationships, whatever it is, we all have this foundation. It's what we all have in common, is this foundation desire for health and happiness in our lives. And in order for that to happen, we need to empower ourselves with the understanding that we are 100% responsible for our own well-being. If there is something in our lives that is not working for us, it is our responsibility to change it. So waiting for somebody else to step up and make the difference is where we all tend to fall down in one area or another. So 100% responsibility. So if your relationship is not looking the way you want it to look, so perhaps you would love to have regular date nights with your husband to reconnect, and you're just waiting for him to step up and make the time, or to ask you, or to do something to make you feel seen, loved, heard again. It is actually lies with you to take responsibility for that, rather than waiting for him to do it. So you book the date night, you get dressed up, you ask him to take the time to get dressed up. Whatever it is that you require, that you would like, then you get to make it happen, because that's what it is to take 100% responsibility for your own life. If you're not happy in your job, in the work that you're doing, and maybe that is motherhood, maybe there is something else that you get to add into your life, but that is only going to happen when you take responsibility and make it happen. So that is one piece of the puzzle, 100% responsibility. Your life is 100% your responsibility. And I look at this in my life, and I also look at it in my kids' lives, and where things are not working the way they want them to work, it is such an easy trap to look at external reasons in our lives why it's not working for us. And it's really prevalent in our kids. I mean, it is in all of us, but it's easy to see it in our kids. And so this is languaging and tools and an understanding that you get to pass on to your kids to empower them to be empowered humans. And don't expect it to land the first time, the second, or even the 50th time. This is something that you get to role model, and you get to just talk about when the situation arises, passing the knowledge on in the understanding that the message is going in, and when the time is right, they will embrace it with like and take action on it. So the other piece of this puzzle that I wanted to talk about is the idea that the event is neutral. So things happen in our lives, and as humans, we're meaning-making machines. So we apply meaning to them depending on the messaging and the stories in our heads that we've accumulated throughout our lives. A really, really powerful example of this is 9/11, when the planes flew into the buildings. There were a huge percentage of us on the planet that saw it as one of the most catastrophic, disastrous, horrendous things that had ever happened on this planet. There were also a percentage of people on this planet that thought it was brilliant, and that America needed that wake-up call, that the Western world needed that make-up call. I'm not here to say right or wrong. I have strong feelings on that, but that's not my role here. My role is just to give you an example of how that event is neutral, and depending on the human, we applied meaning to it. So let me give you another powerful example. I became a single mum with 4 kids under 8 many, many years ago now. And, so that separation, that divorce is neutral. How the meaning that we get to apply to it is up to us. So at the time when I was in that first kind of 12 months probably, I saw it as catastrophic. I was so filled with grief and anger and resentment and revengeful thoughts, and it was pretty awful. It was pretty awful. I didn't have the understanding of those concepts then that I do now, but what I do know now is that that event was neutral. I applied meaning to it. What I apply now is a very different set of stories in my head. It was actually a gift. It was a time in my life when I was forced to step up, take responsibility for my life, responsibility for the lives of my children without leaning on anybody else. And through that process, I actually grew enormously into the woman that I am now. So it was actually a gift, not a catastrophic event. So where in your life have you got a story running in your head about something where you get to relook at it and go, okay, so if that event was neutral, and I am the one that gets to apply the meaning for it, taking 100% responsibility for my life, how can I choose to look at it now? What choice do I have to go, okay, so maybe I get to see this as a gift, or I get to see it as simply a blip that doesn't define me. It's just simply part of my story. So another example that I can give you when, going back to thinking about how we can role model this for our kids is that, there have been numerous times with my 4 kids when something has happened at school and somebody has behaved in a way that has made them feel hurt their feelings, or said things that were hurtful, or done things that are hurtful. And so rather than going into, hate mode on that child, which is easy to do as us, like really defensive, the tigers in our kids' lives, the mama bear that's there to go on the attack and the offense. Rather than doing that, another way to approach it is to go, well, isn't that an awesome example of how you don't want to behave, of how you don't want to do things in your life? And as adults, we can actually apply that on an ongoing basis. So if somebody cuts you off in traffic, or if you have an interaction with somebody that leaves you feeling shitty and kind of off, rather than just going into hate mode and attack mode and revenge mode, how about just going, well, thanks for the example of how I don't want to show up in the world. See how that feels. So I talk about, applying a filter of love over experiences that we have in our lives. And that's, like we apply that same compassion to ourselves, things that we've done that we don't feel so great about. How about saying, well, the event is neutral. What meaning do I choose to apply to it? So there's three, as a recap, there's just three things. What does it mean to you to be empowered? What does it look like in your life to take 100% responsibility for your health and happiness? And what stories can you apply the event is neutral? What meaning do I choose to apply to it? How do I choose to respond to it? Kind of filter. All right, I hope that helps. I would love you to leave any comments, thoughts, feedback, and certainly let me know if I can support you with this any further. Much love. Bye for now.